Greetings and salutations, dear viewers, and welcome back to the realm of Final Fantasy XIV. Apologies for the delay in bringing this video to all of you. I find that the pipeline in order to get these videos to you is honestly a little long. So I'm going to be making an attempt here in the present patch to streamline that process some, so hopefully I can get out some videos while they're still a little more relevant. But for the moment, we're going to be cleaning up some of the previous patch's content, which I believe was 4.3? No, that's silly. 4.3? Wow. 2.3. With the newly added 24-man raid, the, I'm going to mispronounce this, Weeping City of Mach. So let's queue up for this bad boy and see what tiers it has in store for us. There we go, finally got everybody on the same page. So the Weeping City of Mach, what is it? M-A-M-H-A-C-H? Mach? 24-man raid that was added fairly recently. The rewards for this are, of course, the gear itself, which its item level escapes me at this moment, but also for completing it, you get a weekly item, which lets you get which lets you, A, upgrade your primal gear to be some of the most powerful gear currently available, and it also lets you get a piece of materia, which you can then slot into your primal gear. At least at the time of its release, this was currently the best way to get the best gear. Almost, anyway, outside of going into Alexander Savage, which people have asked me if I will be dabbling in, and I will not. But more on that later, because you see, we're getting attacked by a lot of very large alligators. Pretty sure those are alligators. I think crocodiles have the pointy snout and alligators have the rounded one. So I think these are alligators. As usual, the beginning fights are mostly to get you reacquainted with the fact that you have to party with 23 other people, and your party consists of 5 DPS, a tank, and 2 healers. So you're all going to pile in and take out the 3 alligators as fast as possible. Somebody already died, so that's not a great sign. And then once the 3 of them are dead, of course, 3 more pop out of the water. So our usual path into the city has been obstructed, so we've got to go around just a little bit, and along the way find some spiders, who have erected a web-like barrier barring our progress. Now, this, once again, is pretty much a just kill everything as fast as possible, but if I have any requests for everyone, please kill the first daughters first. I say this if only because the Yaphaim spiders, when they die, leave a large pile of poison behind. And I like saving that crap for last, so I'm standing in it as little as possible. But honestly, nobody will ever follow this, and it's not that big a deal. Kill everything as fast as you can, really. With them down, we activate the first basic conveyance unit. You can see the actual entrance there to the side. The conveyance unit will let us teleport back here in the case we are incapacitated. And before us lies the very first boss, Arachne Eve, who's downed an airship, one that got here just before us. Blood-filled morsels. So at the beginning of the fight, you have an amount of time simply to wail on her. You usually do at the start of fights, as there's a 15-second delay before the arena is even closed off, and they generally don't start a lot of mechanics until the arena closes off. So we start out with some fairly basic things. She's got a rear conal that you don't want to get hit by. If you see the red arrow over that person's head, that means very briefly thereafter they're going to get hit with a circle of webbing, which you can see there. Standing in that reduces your movement speeds, and I believe does a very mild damage over time. This will then be followed by the ringed donut AoEs, and a proximity AoE to Eve herself when she re-erupts from the ground. Followed then by the very large green AoEs that you saw smack down and hit the ground. I'm pretty sure those are the same ones that we saw during the Void Ark second boss that pinned nearby people together, and others had to come by and break the tethers. Now, a little ways into the fight, she'll generate a second structure up in the air and haul everyone up top. You get a brief moment to beat on her before things start spawning and you need to go do your job. There's the Deep Earth Aether, which needs to be DPS down. This needs to not interact with Eve. To be honest, I'm not sure what happens when it hits her. It probably really hurts. You can also see these little blue orbs slowly moving their way towards the boss. You want to face tank those to get rid of them. Simply mash into them, they'll explode, do some damage to you, but not do either damage to the raid or assist in another mechanic. You see, at this point, you can either go to the top or the bottom. You see there's another little spider that appears that, when killed, opens a portal taking you down to the lower level of this fight, where you have to handle a few other mechanics. I'll show that off next time she does this move. In the meantime, I'm simply going to be DPSing down the Deep Earth Aether and face tanking the blue orbs. I figured I'd show you what happens on the top this time, and I'll show you what happens on the bottom next time. Generally, most people go to the bottom because that's where most of the DPS need to be, though there is still a DPS check up top. I generally always stay up top just to make sure they're not failing mechanics. And if they seem like they're doing fine without me, then I'll go ahead and go to the bottom. So this is the mechanic we saw earlier, where you have to run through those, followed once again by the donut AoEs, which you can weave between like you see there, and then again the proximity AoE that you need to get away from. She's doing most of the same attack she did in the first phase, only in a slightly different order. You'll notice the red arrows over people again, so she's once again going to spit out the web AoEs. Now you'll notice a few people putting them near the far edge of the arena. That's actually important, though not right this instant. You also saw the arrow in AoE there, which means everybody needs to crowd in because it's going to split damage. If only one person or 2 or 3 people eat that, they're just going to wipe. Fronda Feared shows up, which all you have to do is look away from, and you won't be terrified, I believe the effect is, causing you to run around the arena like a loon. Another rear-facing AoE. Dark Spike, I believe, is a tank buster. Now this time you see the red spike AoEs, watch the person running to the far edge, and as soon as that web AoE hits them, get near it. At least be ready to sprint to it, because she's gonna dive into the ground and start a web sand vortex. See all those people there in the middle near that middle web? They're gonna die. There it goes. That does proximity damage based on how close you are to the center, so you want to be along the far edge. You also have to be standing in a web, or you'll be sucked in and killed. Simply standing in a web is not enough. So you're once again brought up top, so we're dealing with the same mess as before. You can see off to the left a Web Maiden has spawned up top, which is just an additional mechanic for the second run of this. And keep your eye open for the Spitting Spider, the green ball spider that I'm taking down here, because once it's killed, that opens up the path down below, where there is another Web Maiden, which a tank should grab, and 3 to 4 keynotes. Looks like 3. I couldn't remember if it was 3 or 4. 3 keynotes. Now, you can all crowd on the Web Maiden, and then once it's done, go out and take down the 3 keynotes. I think it's more efficient to just ignore the Web Maiden entirely, maybe have a tank grab him, and then attack the keynotes. Once all 3 keynotes are dead, the top layer breaks, and everyone falls back down. And then the fight continues. Now, as this goes on, something else that's happening is you'll notice the little flower symbol on that guy way over there in the distance. You saw this just a little bit earlier, but that person will shortly thereafter be hit by an AoE that grabs them and yanks them and anybody standing right next to them back up to the top. So you don't want to hit more people than necessary with that. Now you see that red arrow AoE over that guy again, and everybody running off to the far edges again. Last time, it was the second one of those that you had to run back and get in the webbing for. This time, it's the first. And of course, we're all going to get hit by that. Just going to climb down and do the donut AoE. Hopefully somebody can break us free. Dodge the donut AoE, and then immediately, I didn't quite make it, then immediately get in the web. It's kind of a lot of a dance, but honestly, it's not that hard to deal with as long as you keep your distance from the center of the arena and try to stay near the webbing. And now you can go back in to fight Eve herself, and there shouldn't be any more major mechanics until the end of the fight. Once again, we have that rear-facing AoE, or conal AoE. Everybody hitting her with their limit breaks. They've charged up over the course of the fight. If you've got plenty of DPS, or some really good DPS, Frond appeared there, so look away. Especially if you've got some good DPS, this fight ends before even that second sand, dirt, web vortex thing kicks off. Everybody gather for that AoE to separate out the damage, and that should be just about enough to finish Eve off. So our prize is some gear. Item level 230, which isn't too bad. I believe the item level cap is 240. So it's not that bad. But the upgraded Eikon gear is 240, I believe. So an ungraceful landing, and we can move on to the next ad phase, which there's a couple trash pulls between this boss and the next, and none of them are really that big a deal to worry yourself about. Honestly, just kill everything. As you kill these first 3 boots, a couple more ads will spawn, but it's still not anything to really worry about. Don't stand in stuff if you happen to see an AoE. You can see the ghosts and the corpses along the sides. But for the most part, don't stand in stuff and kill everything. Them defeated, the blast clears the barrier, opening our way to the second trash pull, which is honestly much of the same. See the tower fall down on the right, blocking our way, but this is still just more boots, and once you defeat them, more ghosts, and like... Oh, and as far as I can tell, there is no detriment to standing in the large black puddle throughout the course of the fight, though maybe there's some kind of enrage timer on that, where if you don't kill him fast enough, something will happen. But that should be the second of 2 trash pulls, which means we can make our way to the second boss. Who looks absolutely terrifying. Of course, raid chat is, well, being raid chat. So this guy deals a lot with undead guys, I guess you could say. There's some ads you have to kill, some green crap you don't want to stand in, some green crap later on that you do want to stand in. They can start by beating on him, and you have, as usual, a very brief amount of time to wail on him from the start, but not long before these ads spawn. Or I should say, rise up. And they need DPS down as fast as possible, or they start doing some nasty AoEs that will wipe you. Some directional AoEs coming from the boss you don't want to stand in. Now you saw the green puddles around these ads, those right there, in fact. You saw those appear around the ads just before they were revived. You do not want to stand in those. Over the course of the fight, you'll see 3 different ways those puddles spawn. One is directly after the ad spawn. The other one is, as you saw there, where the puddle just appears all on its own. Standing in it doesn't do anything bad, it's when the puddle explodes that the problem occurs. And when the puddle appears all on its own, you've got a minute before it explodes. The third, we've yet to see. This, of course, a similar mechanic to what we've seen be in several raid fights before. Simply all of the tiny little circles somebody has to stand in, and if you stand in all of them, you take little to no damage. So that was Brand of the Fallen, I think was the name of that move. Red arrows appeared over a few people's heads. They all need to crowd together as close as possible to the boss. The farther away they are from each other, the more damage they take. Now you see the ads respawning, so you saw the green puddles from them, and you saw the large green orbs floating in the air, which is the third way the green puddles can form. If you see the green orb up in the air, don't stand near it. Because after a short time, it's going to explode into a large green puddle that's going to do the thing to you. Now, getting hit by just one of these green puddles exploding doesn't actually do that much. There's Brand of the Fallen again, everybody has to crowd around the back. Just getting hit by one of those doesn't do that much bad to you. It puts a status effect on you called gradual zombification, and just one stack of that does very little to you. Now you saw the red arrows over their heads just a moment ago, and when you see that arrow, get away from everybody. It'll be about 3 people that it hits. They need to stand away because they're about to get hit by a few AoEs on their personage. As long as they keep running, they won't be hit, but you also don't want to hit other people with them. Now at this point in the fight, the boss summons 3 large ads by sacrificing the zombies we've been killing up until now, and of these 3, your first priority is the summoned succubus. Specifically because the summoned succubus has a move called, I forget what it's called. Evil Wind or some such. But that move needs to be either stunned or silenced, I forget which. But she needs taken down first because she is the most dangerous one to keep alive and unchecked because of that move. The remaining 2, the Hagenti, you see very far away, is your next priority. He's dangerous because he has a... I forget what a gaze type move, where if you're looking at him, you get hit by something. And if you're fighting another boss, you may get tricked into getting hit by him. So, he's your next priority. Also keep in mind that all the while you're doing all of this, you want to be careful you want to be sure to run and stand in these tiny little AoEs, which will be showing up over the course of the ad phase. I tend to go for the farthest ones out because people are lazy and probably won't be going for them. And then your final foe is the Mhach. He's your final opponent because his only real threat is that he has a very large rear-facing AoE. So whatever tank is tanking that Mhach needs to face him towards the party, so that AoE goes away, or at the very least, perpendicular to the party. Now, we're not looking so hot, but we're past the ad phase, and that's the hard part. So now, back to beating on Forgall himself, and you see the green AoE on the ground. This time, you do want to stand in it, because you see him casting Mega Death, which will bring instant death to anything that's alive. So if you get hit by one stack of that green AoE, giving you one stack of gradual zombification, you're kind of dead for a moment. And Mega Death doesn't hurt you at all. You see the other red arrow AoEs going out, so those people are getting away and getting those circular AoEs away from the rest of the group. The directional AoEs coming out from the boss. There's evil mist or something that just kind of does damage. There's not much you can do about it. Mega Death coming out once again. Our gradual zombification is worn off, so we need to get hit by one of these green AoEs in order to not be killed by Mega Death. And back to beating on Forgall. This is for the most part the rest of the fight. There are a few little odds and ends here and there, but if you've got the handle on that mess, then you're doing pretty good. Now, Hellwind is the final, very tricky one, because there's really nothing you can do about it. You get hit by it, and it will bring you down to like 1% of your HP. It just will. So healers have to be very prepared for some very big cures as soon as that goes off. Now you saw I was running out to stand in one of the tiny puddles, but I got the arrow over me for Brand of the Fallen, so I had to run back, stack on the boss, so I didn't take damage. You can get turned into a frog by that move too, I think, or something of the sort. Just everybody stack together as fast as possible and nothing bad will happen. But that's, for the most part, that's the fight. Again, we've got the green puddles coming out, so we got to stand in these. So we get gradual zombification, so we don't get hit by Mega Death. Or our DPS a little bit faster. We probably would have killed him by now, actually. The Mega Death goes off, doing absolutely nothing. I like how the one healer asked, like, I'm not familiar with this, do I just heal that? And somebody's like, I should hope so. Like that one big wind move, like, I should hope so. And like, I understand the point of the question, which was that he was asking, mechanically, is there anything we can do to avoid that, or do I just have to heal it? But like, just the way he says, do I heal that? What if you don't? You're just gonna let people... No, you don't heal it. You just let everybody die. If they get hit by it, they just die. Like, I know it's rough, but as a healer, if somebody fudges up a mechanic, try not to let them die. Unless you just really don't like them, at which point, you're called. Thankfully, after he does that big move, Forgall doesn't do any major moves that's going to hit everybody. The tank may want to be a little bit aware, as he may get off some auto attacks in the light that would put him under. But that I'm not as sure about. Probably a preparatory stone skin or something on the main tank would probably be a good idea, but honestly I couldn't say. But that's Forgall, the second boss of the Lost City, which means now we can move on to the third and final leg of the dungeon. Now you get 2 pieces of gear out of each chest, giving you plenty of opportunities to eventually try to find what you're looking for. You do have to effectively fight other people for the lot and hope that the item you want actually shows up. which gets harder and harder as time goes on. There was, at the time of this recording, a limit on how many of those you could get per week. There was a weekly restriction. You could get one piece of gear per week. In the present patch, which I think is 2.4, I could be mistaken. In the present patch, however, that restriction has been removed, and you can lot all day long. Now at this point, look at what alliance you're in. I'm in Alliance C. A will be going to the left, B will be staying in the middle, and C will be going to the right. That's something we'll see in more of in just a moment. There we go. Now, instead of a trash pull leading up to the next boss, this time it is a mini-boss, so to say. And if you're in Alliance B, you've got it easy, because you mostly just DPS the boss down. If you're in Alliance A or C, C goes to the right, A goes to the left, you'll see a message saying the Void Fire is spawned, so you need to rush over here and kill this Void Fire as fast as possible. If you don't kill it fast enough, it explodes, killing everybody. This ad will show up very shortly thereafter, and along with him, a wall locking you in. So if you kill that ad, then you're free to come out and continue DPSing down the boss. Now, you need to take out that fire for a couple of reasons. One, if you don't kill it in time, it explodes and kind of kills everybody. If the people are still trapped on either side, they can't come to the middle. And you need a lot of people standing in that middle circle in order to put up the barrier so you don't get hit by flaring Epitaph. We have plenty of people, they're all standing in there already. Flaring Epitaph has a very long cast time, so honestly, I just beat on him a little bit since the tank runs in, so he's facing in, so I have to run behind him in order to get my positionals in. But then we're back out, and we're just beating on the boss once again. If everybody is out of the outside areas and everybody's standing in the middle, you take no damage from flaring Epitaph, and you can go back to beating on the boss. The headstone does have a circular AoE, as you can see there, as well as some raid-wide damage, and his regular attack appears, at least, to be a directional AoE, so you do not want to be standing in front of him. The Void Fires respawn, and at this point, I'm playing it safe and going and fighting the Void Fire anyway, even though the headstone is nearly dead, because I have been taught in this game from a very early age, act as though you cannot see the boss's HP. Play it safe and you will not die. Never think, the boss is very low on HP, therefore we should just blitz him out. And then you don't blitz him out quite as fast as you think, and you get killed by a mechanic when the boss is at like 1% of its HP. So with the mini-boss done, we can move on to the most notorious and my personal favorite boss, Ozma. People who have played Final Fantasy IX are probably having some bad flashbacks. So where you're standing right there is good for Alliance B. Alliance A circles to the left, Alliance C circles to the right. You're going to be staying with your own party for this one, and that idiot decided to run up and aggro the boss. So if I have any advice to you in this fight, back and left. See that red arrow over that guy? Back or left. He's running as far back as can be. Is laying down something that's going to do some proximity damage, which is then going to turn into an AoE. Or not an AoE, an ad. So you want to kill that ad. If you don't kill these ads fast enough, they start casting like Whirlwind or Tornado or something of the sort, and it's a pretty good way to wipe the raid. That red arrow AoE that we had the guy go back for, if two of those are too close to each other, you just die. Like everybody, it's bad news. So Ozma can change shape into one of 3 different shapes. The triangle form, the first thing it will do is shoot out an AoE. So as soon as you see, hey, triangle form is going, run off to the side, because an AoE is about to cover your little rectangular platform. You can go back to beating on him for just a moment, and I don't think he's going to be doing any major mechanics right that. Nope, never mind. He managed to get it off. So you see a little dice effect hit some people. It didn't hit me, but you can see right there, acceleration bomb is on him. If you move at all while you have that effect on you, it will explode, and you won't die, but you'll darn well near die. Some of the cast times are longer than others, so it's not a guaranteed thing. And black hole! This is the coolest effect. Yo, look at this crap. And hey, remember Labyrinth of the Ancients? Good times. I still love Labyrinth of the Ancients. Like, it's become such a crap hole since all, like, between everything that's happened. I still love it. So, you kill Atomos. He will spawn ads. Everybody else needs to kill the ads. A bunch of people, at least 1 or 2, need to stand on the little platform in back that ours is glowing purple, because doing that will let the Atomos of the next group be hit. As the next one over, you can see over there, they were standing on the little platform, which let ours be hit. Now we're taking so unfathomably long to kill these stupid ads that we may miss out on what's going on with some of the mechanics. And I'm running in backwards, because one thing many people don't realize is Ozma Shade down here. Pretty much, these singularity jails only appear when you get hit by something that can be avoided by looking away from Ozma Shade. Ozma Shade will do a long cast time called assimilation. Look away from it, and you won't be hit by it. If you are hit by it, you'll get a status effect that counts down. Look away from him, and it'll go away, even though you already have the status effect on him. So, those people in the singularity jails are people who had many opportunities to avoid being in those jails and took none of them. Once Ozma Shade is done, you run into the platform he leaves underneath his body, and you can run back in and continue fighting Ozma. I've heard some rumors about where you get sent to, and like even the image of the land that's reflected in him, and there's some cool rumors. But back to the fight with Ozma. I like this form best, just the look of it. I just think it looks cool. Like, I don't like his reflective forms as much. You don't see nearly enough of this form. So of course that's a gather in AoE. It'll spread damage between everybody. So we've already seen triangle form and the acceleration bomb status effect it puts on some people. The cube form is next. Now cube form will do 2 things. One, it will spawn all these little circles that start rotating around. These need to be eaten, just stand in them and get hit by them. Or they will presumably explode and kill everybody. I don't actually know for sure. Most often, that is done by a healer. They're standing far enough back so that it's not suffering them to stand back. And they can heal themselves through taking the damage. Back and left! Fools. So those 2 bombs are... We just took extra damage there because they put the 2 right next to each other. One goes at the back of your platform, one goes to the left in the middle of the Ark platform. So we took a lot of extra damage there. We made it through. We took more damage than we needed to. We made it through, but now we still have these ads to contend with, so they need to be killed. Ours decided to go over to that other party, so they're having a very bad time dealing with all of them. But they managed, so that's pretty rad. Back to the cube form, which again is doing the circle things. The cube form also does a directional AoE focused on the tank. So do not stand next to the tank during cube form. Simple enough. Back and left. Tanks going left. Where are you going, fool? Don't go right. Never go right. Don't go right. See, now those two are right next to each other. Now we've taken a crap ton more damage. People are dying. Look how low everybody's health is. Back and left. Back and left. Okay, so now everybody decided to gather around us. So we've got to deal with all the singularity fragments now. Because they decided to wander away from another group. Actually, it looks like we're only dealing with like 2 or so maybe they claimed them back. Alright, Ozma Shade going back to its spherical form. I don't think the spherical form actually has any major mechanics of its own. Yep, just going back to the triangle form, so... You actually, when you see it going to the triangle form, you've actually got a second to keep hitting it. What I do is I wait for it to fully form into the triangle, and then I hit it once and then I leave. And that's generally just enough time to not get hit by the AoE. You saw, I ran to the left, the other person ran to the back. I got the acceleration bomb on me now, so even though the singularity fragments needed to be killed, I stopped moving, sheath my weapon. Just stop. Some of the timers on the singularity on the acceleration bombs are longer than others. I wait until I've got about 10 seconds left. If I've got more than 10 seconds, I'll actually keep wailing on it. But as soon as I hit 10 seconds, I stop. Ah, there we go, Tornado. Ah, we killed it before Tornado went off. We didn't kill that one before Tornado went off. But it didn't do it or something? Okay, see another acceleration bomb on Victor over there. Like, for the most part, this whole fight is, if you have acceleration bomb, don't move. When it changes to triangle, get out of the center. If you have a red arrow over your head, back and left. I don't understand. I honestly don't understand why back and left is so difficult a concept to grasp. You know, I ran back and ate one of those because it really didn't look like anybody else was willing to do it. The tank is standing on us for some absurd reason. Why are you standing on us? Okay, so the tank's gonna run to the side. Alright, so, after the tank got us hit by everything and decided, hey, maybe I shouldn't get hit, maybe I shouldn't hit everybody with these lasers. We're all almost dead. But the other groups managed to pull through. Back into the left. Tank, don't stand on the party. Tank, generally, what I see is... Honestly, I just go to the other side of wherever the tank is. But I think it's usually tank left, party right. I think. But I remember one time, it was hilarious, because the tank stood there getting shot with the lasers. Everybody else was standing on the tank because that's where everybody usually stands. The other side completely empty. And the tank actively said, I'm not moving. So you're going to make 7 people walk out of the way of the AoE that's hitting only you instead of, oh, I don't know, only you walking to one side? Why does it matter which bloody side you're on? Okay, beat him, got gear, same stuff as before. And we can make our way up to the final boss. There's no trash pull, there's no mini-boss, no nothing, as is fairly normal for these raids. And our boss is... what is that? Calofisteri? We're fighting Love Deluxe is what we're doing. There's that guy talking about feet again. Okay, so, my request for the tanks is either don't rotate her, or rotate her very little. Don't do that crazy crap what I see some of you guys doing. That's a quick way to kill everybody. So pay attention to her. You see the big black goo forming on her left little tendril there, turns into a big spike. Get on her other side. Just pay attention to her. Watch her. You have to be observant in these fights. You can't just stand back and hope for the best. This is the move that the tank would generally rotate her for, if maybe just a little, so nobody has to move. Now you see that AoE appearing on the ground, the lurking lock you see. Now that purple AoE is smaller than the AoE you saw on the ground before it appeared. Don't go anywhere near that purple AoE. In fact, stand farther away from that purple AoE than the initial AoE showed. That way, if somebody decides to wander over top of it and get captured in its little jail, you won't be included with them. Now you did see there again, the hair tendril turned into another spike, this time on the other side, so it's attacking on the right. Did the big AoE on the right, so everybody else wants to be on the left. Now if the tank does want to rotate her just a little bit so that AoE doesn't go straight back. But I've seen people do like full 180 rotations, and she ends up always, guaranteed, 100% of the time, pointing her AoE towards 100% of the group. Okay, so, brief ad phase. You see the Bijous and the Grand Bijous. Kill the Bijous first. All of them. Ignore the Grand Bijous. See somebody over there hitting that Grand Bijou? Don't be him. Kill the regular Bijous first. The regular Bijous are all casting Recharge. By the time they're done casting Recharge and go away and explode or whatever, the Grand Bijous will only be halfway through their cast. You have plenty of time after the worst case scenario dealing with the regular Bijous to take out the Grand Bijous. Also during that time, somebody have a red arrow marker over their head. They're going to get hit with about 3 or 4 AoEs next to them. Just don't stand near anybody and keep running. And then, if you've killed enough of the Bijous and Grand Bijous, you shouldn't take too much damage. That brings us back to the boss, who once again has made a large spike on her left hair lock. So don't stand on her left side. And we'll see extension this time, and this is the new mechanic that we're going to be seeing in the second half of the fight. You see all these little AoEs appear every time she uses extension. Don't stand in them, but pay attention to what comes out. You see the axes? Stand near the axes. You see the big hammer-looking thing in the middle? Do not stand near it. The axes do a donut AoE surrounding them. The hammers do a circular AoE on them. And that takes you back to the boss, and this is where I feel like rotating the boss is kind of pointless, because it's just going to make people complacent and not try to dodge the AoEs, when once you get into the second half of the fight, it's unrealistic to expect the tank to rotate these AoEs. And you've just got to pay attention. So extension going again, we saw another living lock over there that hopefully nobody got hit by. And when she starts casting penetration, get away from her, look away from her. It's also indicative from the 3 AoEs in the middle, as well as 4 along the edge. A lot of little AoEs everywhere. It's a very unique pattern she only does once, or only does at that time, and it's followed by penetration. If you're looking away from her during penetration, you get knocked away from her, and you're effectively safe. If you're looking at her, you get pulled towards her into the middle of the arena where you get hit by all 3 hammer AoEs. She immediately follows that up with depth charge. So, once you're done dodging the AoEs that come immediately after penetration, run straight to her and get behind her. And you can see she did the thing again. And you see these spike-looking locks off to either side of the arena. Those do completely cross-directional AoEs. It's a big cross. Don't stand in front of them and you'll be fine. Honestly, people usually just tank the hit from that one because it's really hard to see him and pay attention to him and all that noise. But after depth charge, again, get behind her. She'll charge forward. You're behind her so you don't get hit by it. She'll immediately follow that up by doing the side AoE thing when she changes her hair to a different thing. If you're directly behind her, real easy to take one step to the left or right and dodge. So there we go. We did the thing again. We stand on the axe, go back, beat on her again. Don't get hit by haircut. It's cutting with her hair. I saw that she uses split end there in the dialogue chat. I don't believe I've ever seen her cast, or I need to dodge split end, so I'm willing to bet that's a tank buster. Extension comes again, so don't stand in the AoEs. Immediately followed by penetration. You can see the unique pattern around the arena. Make sure you're looking away from her so you don't get hit in the middle, like that poor sap just did. Then run back towards her, stand directly behind her, so you dodge depth charge. And then while you're charging, you can take one easy step to the left or right as you would need to. And then by this point, the fight is resuming. So you're going to see a lot of penetration, you're going to see a lot of extension as she changes her hair. Around that time in the fight where everybody starts using their limit breaks, and very shortly now the fight should be brought to its close. So this has been the Weeping City of Mach. Mach? Your prize is more gear. Also, you can get a card. That item, coffin lid, can be used for crafting, and there's also a rare chance at a minion. Until next time, everyone.